That, my friends, was a common Bengals W. This is the first one I'm doing right after a game. The only other game the Bengals have won this season was the Monday Night Football game, a nail biter against the LA Rams. What's up, you guys? I'm Sean Ross Sapp. It is October 8th, 2023, and this is a very happy common Bengals W show, the happiest one so far, because a lot of things are taking shape. A lot of things are looking back to normal. And even where there are some deficiencies, there is some optimism. The Cincinnati Bengals beat the Arizona Cardinals on the road 34-20. This should not be a game that I am over the moon about. At the start of the season, if you would have told me, one, that the Bengals only had 2 wins in their first 5 games, I would not be happy, despite the fact that last year they were in the very same spot and made it to the AFC Championship game. I would not have been happy knowing that the Bengals had lost their first 2 games the year they went to the Super Bowl. Yet here we are, a couple, 2.5 months removed from Calfgate, Joe Burrow, and just not looking the same. He said before this game that he felt the best that he's felt all season. And boy, was it reflected in what we saw. 36 of 46, 317 yards for 3 touchdowns and an interception that was not on him. It was on Trenton Irwin getting tangled up with a defender. I didn't think it was a PI or anything like that. Joe Burrow got sacked a few times in the first half, and it looked a little rough with that offensive line. Then they picked it up in the second half. 2 touchdowns separated the Bengals and the Cardinals. And we're facing the Seahawks next week at home in a game that the Bengals should win if they look anything like this. Joe Burrow finally looked like himself. We had that great opening quick drive, but we've seen that this season, right? We've seen those opening drives, and then things just unfold, and it's 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, penalty. Well, a couple things I'll say. Refs kept their whistles out of their mouths today. That was a fun thing to watch. Not a lot of penalties called on either team. A costly defensive PI in the end zone on the Arizona Cardinals at one point. But Joe Burrow was scrambling. He was extending plays. Somewhere he should not have extended plays, right? And that's what you live and die with Joe Burrow. Like, I know that he gets sacked an awful lot. Some of those are on him because of those plays that he does extend. But he looked like Joe Burrow. Nothing more evident than his connection to Jamar Chase for a 63-yard bomb. A bomb. An absolute nuke. I would see highlights of other QBs. Even last year, man, I would see these highlights from other QBs. I'm like, man, I know Joe can air it out like that. Like, what are we doing here? Well, today we saw it to Jamar Chase. Whew. We also saw that emotion towards the end of the game. Joe Burrow going off on Travion Williams. Listen, if Joe Burrow completes 36 of 46 passes, the Bengals are going to win the game. If Joe Burrow throws for 317 yards, the Bengals are going to win the game. If Jamar Chase scores 3 TDs, the Bengals are going to win the game. And if Joe throws for 3, they're going to win the game. Higgins was out, and you had Irwin in. I want to talk a little bit about him because a lot of people are going to remember Trenton Irwin falling flat on his face and costing Joe Burrow an interception. However, what I'm going to remember is the fact that he went 8 of 10 on his targets for 60 yards and had some great returns as well. Trenton Irwin fills in and gets shit done. Trenton Irwin just gets things done. This guy has been a godsend the last 2 years. He's not T. Higgins, right? Like, it's unfortunate that Higgins is out. That sucks. But somehow, when Trenton Irwin fills in for one of these superstars, outstanding things happen for the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't know what it is. I would love to figure out what it is and why it doesn't translate to him getting more time on the field. He just gets things done. Also, a feel-good story of today was Kwame Lassiter, just 2 yards, but, uh, his late father, people know who he is, but he got his, first, NFL catch today. Had a lot of people in the stands hoping to see him. They could have, taken a knee down at the end. They wanted to get him a reception. That's great. Chase Brown got a reception as well. Um, but Joe Burrow looked like Joe Burrow. Trenton Irwin stepped up and did what Trenton Irwin does every time he's asked to step up. But let's talk about the man. Let's talk about Mr. I'm always fucking open. As it turns out, Jamar Chase is always fucking open. Always. Do you know just the absolute minivan size set of balls you have to go into a media thing after going 1-3 and say, I'm always fucking open like that? Zach Taylor, to his credit, who, listen, as a play caller, don't like it. As a people manager, he's one of the best. He brought Jamar Chase into his office. Jamar Chase thought he was in trouble. And Zach Taylor said, great fucking interview. And I know I've dropped more F-bombs on this show than I probably have on all the episodes prior. But listen, win in Phoenix, brother. Jamar Chase caught 3 touchdowns, including one for 63 yards, an average of 12.8, 192 yards, 19 targets, and a Bengals record 15 receptions. This man is unbelievable. Whether it be the deep ball, whether it be underneath and fighting for an extra 3-4 yards, this guy will do it all. I love T. Higgins. I love Tyler Boyd. I think they're both incredible. As long as they got Chase, I feel like there's an opportunity. I mean, they are able to elevate a person like Trenton Irwin, who I'm not denigrating his skills or anything of that nature. Not denigrating his skills. But look what happened last year because of the mere threat of not Jamar Chase. Sorry, that's who he filled in for. But the mere threat of Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. This Bengals team has a way of diverting the attention away from the star receivers, the three musketeers that we got here, and finding a way to put guys in the end zone. Now, they don't seem to make it work with tight ends, which is something I wish they would do more. But Trenton Irwin last year caught 4 touchdown passes over 3 games, I think it was, that period. Like, he did incredibly. Jamar Chase did everything that he said he was going to do. And right here in the chat, Jeffrey Rice says, Jamar Chase has a 7-Eleven endorsement forthcoming. That's brilliant. They need to get on that immediately. Or do Brandon Walker highlighting it. Jeffrey says, the Cardinals aren't the pushover team everybody thought they'd be going into the season. It's actually a tough team. Good, hard-fought dub. Yes. I want to just pat myself on the back a little bit, right? Listen, the stats don't reflect me being right here, but I was right. The Bengals ran the ball 26 times, not including. Okay, no. The Bengals ran it designed about 28 times because there were, I think, 2 runs that Burrow went for, including one for 10. They fed the ball to Mixon 25 times. Now, 3.2 yards per carry, that's a little bit misleading because there were about 3 or 4 goal line runs, and then there were a couple where they're just running out the clock. I said, especially with Burrow in the shape that he was in with his calf, that they should have fed Mixon at least 20 times instead of 13 or 14. Now, listen, I know this time, you got about 75 plays drawn up, so it's a little bit easier to feed him 20 times. But I felt like the first 4 games of the season, the Bengals would have met a lot more success had they had Joe Mixon run the ball. Now, 2 of those losses, I don't think that, you could have done a lot with, right? Like there's not a whole lot that could have happened that would have changed what we saw out of the Titans game and the Browns game. Which who knows? Maybe if they would have ran the ball more against the Titans, it would have had a much different flow. I really feel like if they would have went to the ground a lot more against the Baltimore Ravens, that they could have won that game. 13 carries, 4.5 yards a carry back then. Joe Burrow was throwing the ball 41 times on a bum leg. It wasn't working. It wasn't working. Today it worked. And listen, I was the biggest critic of Joe Mixon last year. However, with Orlando Brown blocking for him, that goes a lot different. By the way, Orlando Brown he got beat a couple times. That offensive line did not look great in the first half. He got beat a couple times. He had a pretty rough hold in the second half that could have cost the Bengals, but then they put the game away. I want to see some more consistent play out of the offensive line. Also, the first draw play of the Bengals for this year. Listen, when they start, taking a series of snaps under center, doing more draw plays, we're already seeing them cut back on the throws behind the line of scrimmage. There were a few more today than there were last week. However, they weren't met with the same miserable results. There were a couple that got blown up pretty badly. But in the first few games of the season, it became so evident what they were going to do. Now, I have to, for all the criticism that I give Zach Taylor and his play calling, I want to give him some credit. Let's give him some credit. Opening drives, very aggressive. They got in there and they scored. Towards the end of the first half, I have been saying, and Josh Fuller, good friend of the show, Josh Fuller, says stats don't lie, Mixon needs 20-plus carries. Bengal don't lose when that happened. Yeah, especially in those first few games of the season when Joe Burrow was nursing a calf injury. Like, listen, I know he was taking a lot of snaps out of the shotgun and all that, but Joe Mixon's a smart guy. He can make it work. It's just, I don't feel like they tried to play like they were pretending he wasn't hurt. Well, when you don't take any snaps under center, everybody's going to know he's still hurt. So I want to put over Zach Taylor for something that I joked about. I didn't joke about it. I was serious about it. It was a quote from the movie Triple X with Vin Diesel. He said, "Stop thinking Prague Police and start thinking PlayStation." That's how I felt about the Bengals taking a knee when you've got Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins. You're taking a knee with, I don't care how many seconds you got left in the second half. Guess what? Jamar Chase caught a 63-yard touchdown pass today. Jamar Chase is capable of catching a 98-yard touchdown pass. That's how good he is. He's incredible. So is T. Higgins, and so is Tyler Boyd. So today, they stopped thinking Prague Police, and they started thinking PlayStation. They were doing stuff that I do on Madden, for the love of God. If you're really shit-kicking a team, and you got like 2 minutes left, and they're on the goal line, let's play aggressive. Now, keep in mind, the Bengals got stopped at the 1. I was furious. At that point, I'm like, what the hell are we doing here? The Cardinals get the ball back at the 1. They got 99 yards and about 2-ish minutes to get up the field and make something happen. The Bengals stuff them and call a timeout. Now, they very well could have let the Arizona Cardinals just run that half out, come back, get the ball back, and attack. They said, no, we're not going to do that. Zach Taylor said, timeout. Let's stop the clock here. You're going to have to make a play. You're going to have to make a play, and you're going to have to convert a first down, or else you're going to punt the ball from your own end zone to about midfield, and then we're going to get into field goal range and kick one with Evan McPherson. That's what Zach Taylor was saying. However, what Cam Taylor-Britt was saying was, give me that. I'll take that for 6 or 7. So even though the Bengals did not convert at the goal line, great to see you, throwback. Tone Stomp says, going for it was the right call. Pick 6 or not? Yes, absolutely it was. What's your favorite Vin Diesel movie? They all kind of suck, brother. All kind of suck. Don't like his work. So all is forgiven because of the Cam Taylor-Britt thing. I just respect that so much. I respect doing what they did so much. And they still didn't take their foot or feet off the Arizona Cardinals' necks. The Bengals that I have seen this year are content and lazy as far as like these 3 and outs go and capitalizing and all that. I'm not calling them lazy people or players. I'm talking about the play calling especially. It's just like all right, let's get this done. Nope. Not today. Not today. That play calling was aggressive, and I loved it. It was aggressive to the very end. And that's what I want to see. That is what I want to see. Brandon Walker saying, Chase looks like Ray Allen out there with the sliders turned up. Fun fact, we were playing 2K back in the day. Myself and this fella scored 109 on us with Ray Allen, and we turned his sliders all the way down after that. And he never knew until this very moment. Sorry, Josh. Anyway, Bengals defense, most bipolar ass shit I've ever seen. So, Jeffrey says, we know the odds of the team making a postseason after a slow start. The Bengals have done it after 2 straight 0-2 starts. What's your optimism level they can do it again? Oh boy, are we going to talk about this tone stamp about Mark Sanchez. Oh boy, are we ever. Are we ever. My optimism level that they can get it done is honestly not high. Listen, I was going to talk about this later, but the Bengals win next week. They go into the bye 3-3, and then they face an absolute goddamn slaughterhouse of a schedule. The schedule that the Bengals are going to face is brutal. Had they beaten the Titans last week, like they should have won, they should have beaten them. Listen, I just think the Browns have a great defense. You're going to have to deal with that. The Baltimore Ravens are a good team. But you got to face the Niners, in which there is no evidence that they can lose. The Buffalo Bills, at least it's at home. But that's going to be tough. The Houston Texans are better than a lot of people expected. The Baltimore Ravens on the road, probably losing that one. Pittsburgh now tied for first place. Jacksonville playing really good right now. That's honestly, I'm going to be real. That's 6 straight games that I think the Bengals could lose. They should beat the Colts at home. They should beat the Vikings at home. There aren't that many games I look at and say, yeah, I feel real great about the Bengals winning. I'm going to be real, guys. The Bengals win 3 more games. I wouldn't be surprised to see them only winning 3 more games this season. I hate to say it. I'm not happy about it. It's a tough schedule. It's a brutal schedule. One of the more gross ones that I've seen. Plus, in Kansas City, well, they ain't winning that. Not with what we've seen with the way the refs are right now. Let's talk about this bipolar ass defense. So, this defense against the run is absolute dog shit. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible run defense. And early on, I see this game and I'm like, man, Joe Burrow is going to have to do something special. He's going to have to do something special. Arizona rushing, they were averaging like 7 yards a carry outside of Joshua Dobbs. Rondale Moore ran the ball 3 times for 50 yards. James Conner, 6 for 46. DeMarco, 45 yards on 10 carries. The Bengals' run defense is abysmal. It's abysmal, and they need help now. They need help immediately. It's really bad. There are so many plays that the Bengals give up an extra 5 to 10 yards on that they shouldn't give up an extra 5 to 10 yards on. Now let's talk about the positive. Cam Taylor-Britt with an interception. You got Sam Hubbard recovering the strip sack from Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson almost had a pick as well. Jermaine Pratt at the end of the game with the knife in the heart, fortunately not in his shoulder. He's doing all right. If Jermaine Pratt is to miss any amount of time, the Bengals need to acquire defensive help immediately if they want to remain anywhere near sniffing anything. Anywhere near it. The Bengals defense needs to be a little bit more consistent. I feel like if we have this Joe Burrow and you keep a team to 20 points, well, then in that case, I feel pretty good about the Bengals winning games. However, if you get that first half Cincinnati Bengals defense, I've got some serious concerns about how things will go. Logan Wilson was great. Sam Hubbard was great. Trey Hendrickson was great. It is great to see the Bengals actually sacking a quarterback, right? Like we would see a lot of QB hits, not a lot of sacks. We're seeing some big old sacks, brother. Seahawks next week. I think Geno Smith's going to get sacked a lot. Yeah, I think that's going to happen. Seahawks playing today, or is it their bye week? How's that going to work? About to check the scores. Seahawks have a bye week. Okay, well, they're going to come in very prepared, very rested. Jets over the Broncos. Boy, that's a race to the bottom. Eagles over the Rams. Chiefs over the Vikings. Big shocker there. Dolphins over the Giants. No surprise. Patriots got just packed up. Jaguars over the Bills. Good for the Jaguars, man. Good for them. Lions over the Panthers. You knew that was coming. Colts over the Titans. The Bengals should have beat the Titans. There's no reason they got their asses whipped that bad. Let's talk about Mark Sanchez's awful commentary. This guy was like Paul Rudd in Wet Hot American Summer at the end. First off, he said some really stupid shit at the beginning of the first half. He's like, 1 second left. What you're going to see is everybody roll to the right. They're just going to protect Joe Burrow, and then he's just going to air it out. Bro, what the fuck are you talking about? There's 1 second left. He's taking a knee and leaving the half. What the? It's a fourth down. Huh? Brother, what? And then in the second half, when they wanted to get Kwame Lassiter the ball. They wanted to do something nice for him. He's like, why are they? Oh, God. Oh. Mark Sanchez, Joe Burrow has already done more in his career than you will ever do. No disrespect. It's just the facts. He has already done more than you have ever done in your career. Went to the Super Bowl, went to an AFC Championship game, wasn't a total bust, etc., etc. Man. That was really weird. Very, very weird. Guys, I want to thank you all so much. What else do we got here? I mean, I can see why. Tone said, man has never seen a Bengals game. I swear, did no homework on it, did none. I'll tell you what, though. After the last few games, I wish Cincinnati had a dome. Wish they had a dome. I want that cozy weather. Guys, thank you all so much. I truly appreciate you guys. It's a little hobby podcast that I'm doing. Just enjoying Bengals fandom as much as I can before the schedule, brother. Until next time, we're out.